Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
And this is Aaron. I go by Treffenwood on Discord.
And we are back with more groundbreaking MCP content in 2025. I think this is this 4 years now? 4 calendar years we've released episodes?
Sounds right.
That's a lot.
I don't know about groundbreaking. I thought we agreed to take it slow and ramp the year up.
Nope. Hard-hitting journalism right here.
Shit, I'm out.
Hard-hitting journalism.
Journalism.
Heaviest quotation marks in the history of mankind.
You show me a definition of journalism, I'll show you a goddamn liar.
Oh, Jesus. Journalism. Oh, man. I don't know.
I don't know why all I'm picturing is the Netrunner card hard-hitting news where you, assassinate the listener.
Oh, my God. Just the concept that this is anything like journalism. I love it.
This is what's called experiential journalism, Parker.
Yeah, no notes.
No notes.
No notes.
Right. As always, links in the show notes. Unfortunately, no news. We are waiting for some more news to come down the pipeline. Basically just release dates. All we have on the calendar right now is the 2 boxes coming out end of January.
They're on my calendar. My personal calendar.
Yeah, I bet they are.
So I know to stop and pick up that Elsa.
I was told at the tournament over the weekend that there was some minor erratas that happened that were basically just verbiage cleanups that fixed, timing loopholes. Does anybody read into that?
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't actually.
How about Parker? Let's have you look into that, and we'll start off with currently playing. Aaron, you recently went to an event, I believe, before you had to take a hiatus from the podcast.
Yeah, before the insanity that is the holidays, I went down to Springfield for my final MCP experience of 2024. I wanted, in the most pettiest of fashions, to claim the leadership of the Thralls of Dracula, and so I took Dracula down there.
So I guess a little lead up. How close were you to the Thralls of Dracula leaderboard before you went?
I was first or second, but I didn't have enough games
to qualify.
Yeah.
So all you needed was reps.
I think I could have lost 3 games and still taken it.
Oh, okay.
And my record was it was 15-2 ahead of time, so I just needed reps. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So, do you remember anything about your games? Do you have fun anecdotes you want to go over?
Yeah, I can go over some games. So, first game against Ryan Fairchild playing Apocalypse, and I've said before, I just fucking want to scoop against Apoc with Dracula. It's the fucking worst matchup ever. Because of course he takes Colossus, and then 2 people he has are immune to bleed, and one of them heals 2 every time you attack him. Just fucking shoot me now.
Seems fine.
Yeah. I mean, not to say it's unwinnable, right? I have tools, like moving APOC is great, but of course he just hops back in. Anyway, horrible start, and by start I mean the fact that he flipped over APOC. It was Madmen and Hammers, so we both go and we pick up Hammers and Madmen, and we end turn 1 4-4. He then goes with Prio to eliminate my hammer wielding Drax with his APOC using his Mystic Attack. Seems pretty good, right? So
I've attacked Drax before, so I would say no.
Okay. Well, he did two wombo combo attacks. I forget exactly what he buffed it with, whether it was War or Death. But he ended up leaving Drax on 1 after all of it. Drax responded by fucking murdering Psylocke through her "You Can't Hit Me" shield. My Dracula then proceeded to 1-round his APOC. I just fucking rolled lights out. And on the other side of the table, I murdered one of his models and took both points. So I scored 8-0 turn 2.
Whoa.
And then I did it again turn 3.
I
won 20-4 on turn 3.
Wow.
It was the most lopsided dice game I have ever been a part of.
Would you say it was an apocalyptic event?
I would. And you're like, well, you can just have, there are some, let's call it bad players out there. Ryan went on to win his next 2 games. He went 2-1 for the tournament. He's a good player. He did not make bad calls, right? He just He went into
Sometimes,
me with
dude, the snowball just starts rolling.
yeah.
and there's
His
really
OG
nothing you can do
Wolverine
about it.
just went and was like, "Take no damage, take no damage." I'm like, "Great," and I murder you back.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it
We've
was
all had
fucking
those games
insane.
where it's just like, doesn't matter how good your plan is,
Yep.
just someone decided no in advance. And you're like, oh shit. And then you're just watching it happen. And Hammers obviously doesn't help that environment at all. Once it's happened once, it's just going to happen again.
Yeah, normally you explode them off of, I granted I had them all spread out, so it wasn't one person with 4 hammers. But again, if he gets Drax with APOC, it's a whole different game, right? He's got the hammer on APOC. I probably don't even go after him with Dracula. Anyway, yeah, so that one failure to kill my Drax on turn 2 turned what should have been a really good close game into an absolute blowout. Anyway, yeah, so that was a fun way to start. Round 2, I went up against Steve Rogers' Avengers. A very tight game against Andy. Hammers and Madmen again for the second straight time. He failed an uncontested Madmen flip on turn 1, and that ended up being the difference in the game because I won 17-15. Yep. No, he played a very good control, throw people off points. Using Steve 1's leadership to really empower throws. I was just able to go up 1 point on the first turn on him, and then just run parody the rest of the way out to take the 2-point narrow victory.
Wow.
And then on round 3, I played against Cassin's fucking double Ghost Rider Guardians list. Once again, 2 people I can't bleed. Fucking Thralls can be the most frustrating experience when your entire leadership is denied upon flip.
Yeah,
of the
and
squad.
in your specific example, you can't switch out to something else. Just play. Because the whole point is to get reps with that. So
I was fully committed to Plan A as Thralls and Plan B as Thralls. A better list by far would have options. I was not taking an optimized win the tournament list. I was taking I'm playing Thralls list.
Yeah.
I ended up losing 16-15. It was really close. I think I actually win that game 90% of the time. There were like 7 dice rolls that needed to happen or not happen, depending on who was rolling them on the last turn. And I think Cassim was favored in each of those die rolls, but he just hit every single one. Like, odds are he fails one of them, or I hit one of them, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But nope, he just got every single die roll that he needed. And it wasn't like, 1 in a million. Like, they were like, 60%, but he just hit every single one. So good game. Don't know what else to say. So he ended up losing the final and taking either second or third, something like that.
Well done, Dracula.
Yeah, yay, Dracula.
So you're trying to get? Are you trying to get on the Longshanks top list with Dracula? Is that the guy? Is that the goal?
I believe he did.
That was the goal, and I did, and I'm now retired from Dracula.
Oh, you did. You got
someone
it.
Someone else can have it. Shit, someone else might already have it.
Grind games, yeah.
Oh wow. Well, great job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does it reset every calendar year, or was somebody just right behind
It's a
you?
1-year look back.
Yeah, it's a rolling calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And so you theoretically, like, these games will start to fall off sometime around next year.
Mm-hmm.
I am no longer.
This year.
Yeah, someone else took it from me. I am currently only the rogue agent. I lost Alpha Sentinel. Oh, now I'm pissed. Not really.
I was to say, you really want that
So how do the
back?
badges work? Do you have a different badge if you're the current leader, and then a different badge if you're a previous leader?
No, you have the same badge, but it won't show up under your current awards that most people see. You'll see it under your award history.
Okay, so you actually lose the badge if somebody takes it from
lose
you.
the
I
badge.
thought there was a previous badge, like, oh, you were a former holder of this badge award.
No.
That you okay.
You could
That
see
would
it
be
on
nice.
their page. Yeah.
Yeah, it does say all the badges you have.
Ben Right Mad took over Thralls of Dracula. Good job, Ben.
How many games does he have?
I'm looking. Hold on. He went 12-5. I went 11-3. So very similar scores. Again, if I just played, he's got 17, I got 14. If I just played 3 more games, I would probably overtake him. You really have to get to about 15 games to crack 500. And then after that, it'll continue to go up quickly if you're winning, and then it'll kind of plateau around 600 or so. I want to know who took Alpha Sentinel.
Some real degenerate, probably.
Oh, no. Some of my games must have fallen off.
Yeah.
Because I'm now down to 372.
Say it's been a while since you played Sentinels.
Yeah, apparently. I thought I started playing them after LBO last year, but apparently I was wrong.
All right, Parker, did you find the erratas?
Yes. They
Anything of
are.
note?
No, I think it's mostly just like timing things and clarifications. The Mighty Thor's Heart of the Worthy Team Tactics card. I don't.
Yeah.
They just clarified it. I honestly don't know what the original one was because they've already Did they already fix it on this?
Checking. So the
I'm-
legacy verbiage is at the end of the activation phase, an allied Mighty Thor can spend 2 to play this card. Mighty Thor removes her activated token and she immediately activates. During the next cleanup phase, she is KO'd.
This says when a character's activation would end if all other characters have activated or dazed tokens.
Yeah, so they're just changing the verbiage from end of the activation phase.
Yeah.
Because technically you can't play cards after it's ended or something like that.
Yeah. Archangel and Angel, that box had 2 tactics cards in it that both just had the wrong keyword on it. So the Battlebound was supposed to be reactive and it said active, so they're just saying change it. And the Death from Above is supposed to be active and it says reactive.
They just swapped the keywords.
Yeah, clearly they just printed the wrong word on them, so just don't use those original keywords. And the last one is Elsa Bloodstone's Blood Gem Blast, which I believe is her spender. The Wild Degeneration, they just clarified it. It says, after this attack is resolved, the defender cannot have damage removed from it until the end of the activation phase this round. I'm not sure what the original...
That's just, I believe the difference is... Let's see. You said Blood Gem Blast?
It's her spender.
Yeah, it's her spender.
Oh, yeah. Can I have damage removed from it during this activation phase? What was the new wording?
After this attack is resolved, the defender cannot have damage removed from it until the end of the activation phase this round. That's what Jarvis has.
Oh, so that would allow healing at the end of the activation phase, as opposed to not during the activation phase. So that you just basically not during character activations is what it means.
Yeah. So yeah, just
because there is stuff that will trigger. There is stuff that could trigger at the end of the activation phase.
Right.
Yeah, just keyword cleanup and stuff, basically.
Yep.
All right. So Parker, you played in a tournament this weekend.
Yeah, I did. I played at the Geekery tournament. Was run by a great guy, Sue selflessly. Let other people play, even though because there was
disagree
odd number of players. It was great. There was my first opponent was. Oh, sorry, I'll tell you what I played first. I should probably say that. I wanted to play Hydra because I really enjoy playing Hydra. Honestly, is the main answer every time.
They're really fun.
They're really fun. I feel like they have an answer for most everything in the game. They just have the pocket sand. It's what it is. They're all about the pocket sand. Also, they have a bunch of really just cool effects that have been added to the game, like sold and activated. And I think...
just real quick, I think it's funny that we like opposite things in the Hydra.
Yes, we do, yeah.
There's so many weird gimmicky stuff they do, and we just are ships in the night on the ship that we take.
Yeah.
We take exactly opposite stuff and are both happy with it.
Yep. I do love your Mordo Venom Strucker like combo. So I did take that package in case I saw it. I never saw point value that really screamed let's do it, but it was there in case I wanted it.
I think Omega Red is also super sleepy in there. People don't realize how much of a monster he becomes with that leadership.
But I'm primarily planning on playing Red Skull Master of Hydra. I really enjoy him. That's the packages that I like and all the ways that you can abuse him. So in my round 1, I ended up playing him all 3 games. I didn't use the other package, but in round 1 I played Josh, playing his Mighty Thor, quote unquote go wide Asgard. He was trying to purposely play a bunch of 3s, but he decided to play Thor 2 in the list also. So he really had 2 big guys and some small Asgardians. And it was a pretty high. It was Paranoia and Intrusions, and so I knew I could score actually fairly fast with Intrusions on the board, even though Paranoia wasn't going to let me score really quick. I knew that Asgardians love their reactive tactics cards and a few reactive abilities, so I actually played Hulk with Sleeper Agent, and it was by far the best choice. It would have been amazing and really been a windmill slam, great game for him. But I made a mistake. He focused on Hulk, which is the right thing to do. I also played Venomized. So on the turn, I was like, here I go. I have like 9 damage on me. I'm going to Venomize. I'm going to one-shot a Nebula. And here we go. So I do it. I one-shot the Nebula. And he says, I play Recalibration Matrix. And I went, damn. And he plays it. And I recal into like doing 3 damage. So I only healed 3. And a whole round later, I went, fuck! Recalibration Matrix is a reactive tactics card.
What you should have done is used Sleeper Agent. That's what
yeah. So and the funny thing was, both of us were playing with Sleeper Agent in mind the entire game for all the effects. Like, he knew that he couldn't react with a bunch of stuff he tried.
It's just different when it's a tactics card, right? And like the one everyone knows is Brace, right? Everyone knows Brace because that's the main reason you have it.
Yeah.
But then you just forget when it's an oddball one like Recal, which you rarely even gets played anyway.
Right. He didn't even try to Brace. He didn't even try to Odin's Blessing against Hulk.
Exactly.
Like, there were a bunch of opportunities for things to happen, and he didn't do it. Like, he knew it was on the board, so did I, but neither of us thought of Recal. Now, I'm not going to, be too butthurt about it because I did end up taking it down just by points. Even though he did have to kill the Hulk, he lived a little bit too long. And the entire time he was killing stuff, Red Skull and Winter Soldier were just killing everything. Winter Soldier, I think, did like probably 19 different attacks over the course of the game, him trying to shoot at Red Skull or just knocking things down. I was also playing Bob. Every time he knocked Bob or a grunt down, Winter Soldier would shoot him. Winter Soldier really went off. So I was able to take a pretty quick attrition lead and hold on to it for the points win eventually. So it was a good round.
I have a list question for you.
Go ahead.
Is there any reason you didn't play Endless Legions?
I played Endless Legions once. I tested it. It doesn't do anything. It just pushes them around a bunch. I just find it
How dare you?
I feel like it doesn't do
This
anything.
is the best tactics card in the game.
It's terrible.
This might actually be the worst tactics card in the game because not only does it not accomplish anything,
it actively works.
It actively counter synergizes all of your abilities.
Yeah.
There's so many times you're like, oh yeah, I just need this fucking grunt to die and then all my abilities will trigger. Yeah. You're just like, nah, how about instead no?
Pretty sure Darkstar says hold her beer.
No, because that does something.
Her card
what does
actually
Endless Legions do?
I don't even remember, but I just know that Darkstar has
each time
the worst
the Hydra
card in the game.
Troopers, each time the troopers would be KO'd, remove all damage from them, and they are not KO'd, and then they are pushed any direction short by the attacker or your opponent. Sorry, and so like you don't even get to they just get pushed out of the way and then never matter again. It's really dumb.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
So my second round was against Zach, so I got to play Josh's brother, and I was actually really excited, anticipating this fight because Zach and I got to play earlier that week. We played on Thursday, and he played his Go Wide Weapon X list, which was planning on playing Maverick with a weapon stash and sticking Zemo Bubble, and we actually talked about it, and we think it's actually better with Strucker Bubble because he just fits more into the theme of I'm just going to stand here and never die. So he puts a Strucker next to the cover, and then a lot of his models are reroll 2 with cover. They just stand there and kill you, and he has so many more activations and so many more attacks than an opponent.
It's just dude spam with healing factor. So if you don't kill somebody in one round, they just heal it.
And there's a really good chance they don't. So I played against it on Thursday night with a experimental Avengers list, and it was just it was awful. Like, it didn't do anything, and that's one of the reasons why I turned it off. But I was thinking of his list, like, I wonder how I'll do. So we end up getting hammers, but we don't have the right points for me to play Hulk. So I actually windmill slam Ghost Rider down with Red Skull 2. So on turn 1, because I deploy right next to the closest hammer, Ghost Rider starts with 2 power because of Red Skull's leadership. He picks up 1 hammer, double moves to pick up a second hammer, and so because I had priority, the remaining hammer on the midline, I put Red Skull, Zemo, and Winter Soldier right in front of it. So he's like, okay, well, I got to go pick that up. He goes and puts Deadpool in cover and the hammer. Winter Soldier activates because he activates next with Soldat activated. He immediately gets 2 power. Hydra Tactics unloads on Deadpool and knocks him down right then with the reroll from Zemo, all right there. It's just an awesome early tempo play on the midline. Mm-hmm. He fell to it, and then it was just off to the races. All of my guys had hammers on every attack, and it was just totally.
Is Soldat give him a reroll?
No, but Zemo does next to him.
Yeah, I knew he got the Zemo reroll. Okay.
So
I'm thinking of I think it's the Avengers card.
Avengers card gives you an extra dice.
Yeah, there you go, extra dice.
So
yeah, I think Deadpool's probably supposed to die there, but it's probably worth the risk. I don't know. I think he's just dead. Probably not. I probably wouldn't have put him there, but anyway.
And I think you rightly noticed. He's like, okay, the other option is I just let Red Skull pick this up for free. That seems terrible. But then he ended up doing it with the KO also.
You just make it easier for him to pick it up, and he gets to daze one of your people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a trap. I think in the moment it feels like the right play, but I think it's
bad. He never actually got to put the weapon stash out. Not because Maverick died instantly, but because he just couldn't get in the right spot. Red Skull because Red Skull ended up picking it up, the hammer up, and so now he's rolling 7 dice, count blanks, and he just kept one-shotting things, just like zoom, 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 zoom. Here's the thing:
Red Skull's good into that list.
At the point value we were playing, he got to play 6 threes, right? That's 18 points. Yeah. So he got to play 6 threes, Weapon X threes. They're all dangerous. They're all scary. I have to kill them all, but I did because with hammers and that many attacks, eventually I just did. He also lost 2 characters on his turn to Winter Soldier and Zemo Counter-Strike. It was So the list executed exactly what I wanted, and it's the reason I put in Ghost Rider, and it worked.
I remember Jeremy told me a little bit about his game against that Weapon X list in the first round, and it was, I want to say, Hulk and Thanos. Remember it was Thanos and somebody else that was pretty big. I think it was Hulk, but I can't really remember. Might have been CGR. But he just couldn't get people dead. He kept letting people live on like 1 or 2, and they just heal it back. And even with the death decrees, like you just get bad rolls sometimes, and you just don't quite do 5 or 6, and then they just live because they're 3 defense dice with 2 rerolls and cover means you're average blocking 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, okay, well I do 6, like cool, I take 3. And then I played the new tactics card, which lets me heal 2, and then I shoot you again. I do 5. And then they block 3 and you do 2. It's like, all right, cool. So I've done 3 damage to you. Then he activates and heals 2. And you're like, what the fuck? That was like a super premium activation. I did nothing. And then they attack you back. You take 6 damage. You're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It was just basically an hour of that. And so Jeremy was not very happy.
Yeah, you have to be able to put out a certain volume of attacks and a quality of attacks.
They're one of those types of lists that really punishes lists that don't have like 3 sources of damage. Because if you just have the buffer of, I'll just throw 2 people into each other, then you can't just quite tick it to the 5th box and you get punished for not. So, go ahead, Parker.
Yeah. So it worked. My list does that, especially with hammers, right? Giving Red Skull the extra hammer, and also the entire tournament. The thing I love about Soldat Activated is it makes Red Skull much more dangerous to attack. People don't want to attack him because they don't want Soldat to turn on, and so he just gets to stand there and zap, 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 zap with 7 dice. It works out well.
Yeah. The risky part is obviously, right, if you don't do enough damage with Bucky, then he stops shooting. And so there's always that risk, especially when you're talking about a situation where they're blocking 2 or 3 every time.
Right.
And he's only rolling 4. But yeah, for sure, if you can get the train rolling, he's great.
Yeah. He never, like I said, he never got the cover down because I blitz pushed him once, even though I didn't kill him, and he just it became too difficult for him to do. So I took that one down. And the last game was against Quentin, and he was playing the same Web Warriors list that he's played for since Adepticon, with very small changes, a couple of adjustments he's made as metas have shifted and tactics cards gone in and out. And I knew it was going to be really hard, and I did my level best, and it went pretty well. I had a Red Skull who blocked way more than he was supposed to. He did a very, very good job of controlling the Winter Soldier Soldat activated with Red Skull. I made a couple outside the box plays that were able to put some things down. Dice showed up for me when they needed to, so I didn't leave anybody on one a lot. So it was pretty close, but the end favored him. Because he got his big, actually no, he didn't really get his big Blitzy turn off with all webbed up. It was really Beta Ray Bill. I couldn't get through all of his models to get to Bill, and so Bill basically closed out the game by himself. Like he just showed up on turn 4
with a bunch of power, and
with a bunch of power, and now he's on the point, and he's still scoring too. Like he's been scoring the whole game, and yeah. So
he's not the early game monster he used to be. Now he's oddly a great closer because he comes in with power, with points, and he's healthy, and you just can't displace him.
Yeah,
you can. It just doesn't matter, right? Because he's just going to aggressive back so often.
Right.
So he just ends up showing up. He's that model you need when things start turning sideways to just stabilize the situation. He's really good at that.
If I had been able to remove his Amazing Spider-Man at a really key moment, it would have been very different, but a couple times he blinked out and I was able to flip him over, and I was like, all right, and then after I flipped him over, he took no more damage. He was just block, and that was it. So
I mean, you're lucky you made him not score. So
yeah. Oh no, it was 6. I lost 16-13, so it wasn't terrible. And we got Scoundrels, which is just the perfect.
Well, I'm just saying of the games against ASM, there's the games where he gets 2-shotted, then there's the games where he never takes damage, and there's the games where you injure him, but then he never dies.
Yeah,
and so that's obviously the best middle ground. Is at least you're not contesting blues, because that way I can just ignore you if you don't have extract.
There was an amazing turn where when he popped all webbed up, that Red Skull just started blocking like a monster. And it looked really scary because he left him on 1, and he needed his all webbed up to be a blitzy turn. And it didn't work out, but I could not return with enough damage. Like it didn't come back with enough. So, it was all in all, it was a good game. I was satisfied with second place. I'm really happy with Hydra still. I think I'm going to keep playing them, just like I said, because they always have a game. I never feel like, well, I'm screwed now. And they do a bunch of fun things to the game while I'm playing. Like, I loved the very first round. I showed up with 2 tactics cards and 3 buffers, like 3 buffing tactics cards, and I just think that's really fun. So yeah.
So I didn't get to play in the event. I was the odd man out, so I just kind of sat around and watched people play. I did get a game in on Thursday, though. I played my Mephisto, Cabal, Hydra, or Cabal with Red Skull list. And I got to play a game against Josh. He was still playing his Asgard with the big. He was playing Go Wide Asgard is what he was calling it, but he has a lot of expensive models in his Go Wide list.
Yeah, that's what
I don't know
what
if
I said.
You remember. I was like, why do you have 4 5-pointers and a 6-pointer in your list? How is this a Go Wide? So, well, I don't play them all at the same time. I was like, well, you played a 5 and a 5. What are you talking about? It's just very odd. I was like, you're supposed to actually go wide. He's like, well, there's not enough affiliated models. Like, well, why aren't you playing the 3 3-pointers? He's like, well, I don't like those. Like, you're playing Go Wide Asgard with rogue agents. It's just very odd.
What I meant was Go Tall Asgard.
Yeah, and so I tried to explain. He's like, you should please just try the. He's like, I don't like them. They're bad. I'm like, whatever, that's fine. And so, but we played a game, and he did not take the time to try and figure out Mephisto's bullshit, which is admittedly a lot to read right before a game starts. But he took the first deal. He took up the ante on the first attack I played it on, which is not great. He shouldn't do that. And so I immediately went to 4 or 5 deal tokens, and then he got priority on turn 2, and Angela failed to daze anybody. And so she ran away because she realized that she was in a bad spot. And so she got out before Dracula and Mephisto got to basically kill her. But that just meant that Mephisto got to activate with 4 deal tokens. And so he did a double terminate contract on 4 people. And so he dazed, I think, 3 of them. And so he just went completely insane, making, I think it was 7 9-dice attacks on turn 2, and then also a 6-die attack. And then his Mighty Thor just straight up dazed my Red Skull 1, who conveniently, in Brandon fashion, took 3 damage on the first turn from gaining power. And so my Red Skull always gets like 3 or 0. But yeah, we played a fun game after that, but unfortunately he was just not able to get traction against Mephisto, who just kept making huge Termination Clause attacks the whole game. My Dracula actually wasn't great that game. He didn't get any like good damage, and he kind of was just wandering around, going into mist form a lot, trying to stay alive. And he killed everyone else in my list very efficiently, and basically just left me with just Mephisto, and then he just eventually won the game. He went out in style, though. He played Odin's Blessing to keep Big Thor alive. And, not Big Thor, it was Valkyrie. Valkyrie was still alive. So Valkyrie did her Spender plus Martial or Master Swordsman, doing a bunch of damage, teleported through one of the incursion portals, and then killed somebody else. And then, which was, I believe, Bob, just to daze Bob for the last activation. And so I could only activate Mephisto, and then died to bleed. And so she went out a hero's death.
Nice.
Just attacking to the last second. Yeah, it was a fun little game we played. Don't take the deal. That's the moral of the story.
What do you mean, don't take the just keep refusing?
Yeah, don't give him the deal tokens.
Mm-hmm.
It's never worth it. At least if you're gonna take them, don't take them like really early in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if you take it like on turn 5, what's he gonna do with it, right? I guess. But...
Yeah, like there's times where it's like, all right, well, you don't have anybody around you to use them for defense. Like, I'll just kill you, and you're like, sure, that makes sense. Like, I'm gonna not take damage to stay alive here to then attack you back because you've mispositioned yourself. Like, there's times to do it, but you need to know when. Don't just blindly take the deal. Because it sounds good. You're like, oh, well, I'm going to take 3 damage. Like, wow, I don't want to take 3 damage. So I won't. And you're like, well, that's, if you, okay.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. Anyway, I still think Mephisto's a little scary. I don't know if he's truly broken, but he seems, any model that can just like objectively not die is weird. It's hard to put a reference on that. And then also like in the right situation, he can do a ton of damage.
The fact that you need, like, in order to put him down, you need them to not have brace and to double throw, basically. Like, that's the one way for him to actually fall down. But that's one of the only ways to make it happen for sure. That's
sure.
awesome.
But yeah, like you said, he's got like 7 hit points, so it's so hard to kill him with throws anyway.
Right.
Like,
I'm saying that's the long shot, right? It's not easy.
Right. You basically have to start by throwing shit into him early. Yeah. You have to threaten him. And I think that's the problem is he, every time I was like, oh yeah, I can just, sack this because I've got basic heroes for hire on every attack. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I'll just never attack Mephisto. But that was even worse because then he wasn't spending resources to put the attacks on other people. Admittedly, I have Dracula right there to take the hit and then to hit you back. So it's going to suck. But like, you have to take the time to understand the mechanics. Because all right, well, I'll just stand at like range 4 and shoot you, so that way I'm not getting attacked back. Or, oh, I know I can just throw Mephisto, get him out of range for the bodyguard stuff, and then shoot him. Or I can, like, when to disrupt the movement stuff. It's like, oh, well, he's already activated. This is the best time to displace him. Like, stuff like that. Like, you have to know the abilities. Because if you're just going to assume your opponent's model can't die and just accept that, it makes it so much stronger than it is. Because there is no, they have to ride the line of, like, what's a good position, how risky can I be? They're just completely immune, then yeah, it's even better. I don't know. I think I'm probably ready to put this list away and try something else for a bit. I do really like playing Dracula, and I think that's what I look forward to when I play my list now. Mephisto's still fun. He's just, I just want to play more Dracula, and I don't really care how that happens.
I don't feel like Dracula needs anything, really, right? Like, he should be just fine.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Does he?
Dracula has 0 action economy. It's really.
Yeah, he doesn't have action economy. He does have the bow, which is nice, but it's not great. It's just nice. And there's very rare. It's a great ability, but usually, like, he wants to move people closer. So it's like when you're bowing from range 3 to range 2, it doesn't feel great. Unless you're, like, also getting them off an objective. But it's certainly an amazing ability, and on a model that can use it well is great. And the fact that he can, like, become speed long and then also bow at range 3, that's a big distance.
Yep.
I was actually thinking that he might be really good in Midnight Suns with Blade. And not that he wants Blade, just having a leadership that isn't his own might be really good. And then he's obviously affiliated, so right? Because he is Midnight Suns, right?
I'm unsure about that.
Nope.
Let me double check. Maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm just making this up. I have not played Dracula in anything else.
He is not.
He's just Cabal and Thralls. Okay, I was assuming he was Midnight Suns because I just thought he was. I don't know why I was thinking that.
I think
never mind.
Best home is Cabal.
Yeah, I was assuming he was affiliated.
Dark
so I was
Brain
thinking,
and just go. Yeah.
Right. I was thinking he was going to get Siege, and I was like, well, that's great. And obviously he likes Bump. Bump's great because he's on a medium base.
Yep.
Yeah.
Storm would also be very good.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, Storm could also afford him because she's a 3.
Yep.
And also, they have tactics cards just to keep him alive if he ever gets hit by something really, really heavy, and you're like, oh shit, that actually kills me, and I can't respond and get my health back. Well, then use the rest of your team's power to keep him alive.
The more I've played it as well, the leadership on Red Skull 1 is very nice on both of these 5-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
They both have an okay amount of power, but would like some more. And that's kind of like what I was really surprised about, because Mephisto seemed like he was going to have plenty of power, and he does, but if you're adding Red Skull 1 power on top of it, you're like I did the Termination Clause on turn 2, right? And I was like, well, I had 4 deal tokens, so he powers up for 5, so you just get enough to do the beam immediately, and you've got a couple power left over from last turn. So he does the beam, hits 4 people, and now the beam costs 1 effectively. And you're like, okay, well, I just beam again now. And you're like, oh, this is a problem. So, like, he hit 7 people. It's like, that's 7 power. Like, he generated 7 power in 2 actions with Red Skull 1. And then he did his How Can I Be of Service, so he got another power off of that. And I'm just like, he generated 8 power off the leadership in 1 activation. It's like, god damn. Because he did all of his attacks, like, majority of the time are going to deal damage. They're all 6 dice attacks or better. Mm-hmm. And then Dracula's the same thing. If he's attacking 2 or 3 times around because he's getting the attack backs because he's bodyguarding for Mephisto, because he's bodyguarding for Mephisto, he's always in position to do stuff. He's getting more basic attacks because of that. So he's basically just powering up for 5 every turn. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, that's amazing, because now you actually have power to do his attack back on every attack. He gets to do his blood drain more often. And it's like, it's just always doing the stuff you want to do. It's very nice.
Anybody who generates... I
was just saying, the fact that they do get enough power on their own, but more power is obviously always better when you can effectively use it.
Anybody who generates extra attacks or spins in order to do their best attack, like that's how they're balanced, is that you're having to spend so your economy goes down as you're getting your best effect. When you put them in that leadership, it just feels so good, because you don't feel like you're being like, you just, not being penalized, but you don't have to worry about that balance. You're able to just move right past it. It's excellent.
Yeah.
Also, he himself is not a bad character with one of the best tactics cards in the entire game. The affiliation. This is going to sound stupid. You don't even need it. Like, it's so stupid. Yeah.
I actually stopped taking it in my squad because
really?
You never need it.
What?
Yeah, there's never a time I'm like, I want to activate this guy again. It's like, everybody's already fucking dead. It's like, did you daze me? Nope, you're dead. Like, that's not a problem I have. It's really weird.
I actually do like Dracula with Cosmic also, because he will commonly still be alive, right? Like, because your opponent doesn't want to attack him, or if they do, you're attacking back and healing. So there's a relatively strong chance that you will have him. That's one of the ways to beat Cosmic, is to take their biggest model and just shut it down. Just focus on it like crazy. Make sure they don't get it off. But
Yeah, the fourth model I've been taking a lot has been Apex with Red Skull 1, because obviously there's a little bit of synergy there. And honestly, getting to place him first is actually really nice, because you can place him forward and then get a pounce into a spot that nobody expected previously in the turn. You obviously can't do it on turn 1, but there's a lot of times that there's some fun stuff you can do with placing him. The other thing is, early in the game, you can go pick up a point, and then the next activation immediately bring him back into a safer position. And so he becomes a very decent first turn grabber because of that, is because your opponent will think they can go get him, and then they kind of just can't, because you're not going to one round him with 7 hit points at that distance. And so and then he has healing factor, so it blunts the damage he does take a little bit, and he gets a little bit more power for the second turn because they've attacked him, but now he's safe again. And so you can do stuff like move and pounce next turn, and there's a lot of stuff you can build off of that. Or you can just run away and heal up.
Well, if you don't play Cabal, I might try it.
It's a fun list to play. The only problem, again, is if you just play a hyper scenario list, like, the list needs to interact with you. And
yeah,
I haven't played it against a scenario team, but I don't think it would go well.
Mm-hmm.
If it was obviously a fighting mission, you'd probably be okay, but the list can chase reasonably well, because Dracula can pursue so far, Mephisto can pursue so far, but as like specifically killing people really quickly, I don't know the list is great at that unless you're kind of dogpiling. Because, they are spending those actions to move. But that's also why I think Mephisto's so broken, is because the fact that he can move medium on a medium base, and then target at range 3, place within range 1 of that, plus a medium base, and then do range 3 attacks from there, or beam force from there. It's like, he can cross the entire fucking table and still attack you.
Yeah.
With like a quality attack. It's really nuts how fast that guy is deceptively.
But he doesn't. Does he actually move anywhere? Or is he just teleporting around like a devil man?
No, that's the thing. He makes a move action, still attacks twice. Like, it's like a charge.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, but I don't count the place attack as an actual attack.
Sure, I don't disagree that it's not like putting out damage, but it's building up his token pile. And what I think it really forces you to do is spread out. And so, like, he's diving into your team. And if you just can't leave anybody within range 3 of him, because if you leave within range 3 of him, then he's getting the place into position to then double attack you. And that's really bad.
Yep.
And so you almost have to just run away from it. Parker, do you have a comic corner for us today?
Oh, I do.
Because you had one you keep fucking telling me about.
I have been sitting on this one for a while. It is very, very good. For those of you who have listened to Comic Corners before, you would know that I am a huge fan of Mark Millar. And Mark Millar is... I finally figured out why Mark Millar is one of my favorites. He is a very cinematic comic book writer. Like, he writes thinking of a cinematic style. The way that he plans the acts of his stories are very cinematic, and they mirror cinema, which is why he is by far the most adapted story writer in comic history. He has multiple comics, both in Marvel and outside of Marvel, that have been turned into and adapted into movies, because you don't have to change the story structure very much, or the characterization, or the growth of the plot. It's ready for you. And so when I was I have been going through a Mark Millar tear, and just reading all of his stuff in and outside of Marvel, just basically watching movies in comic book form, because that's how he writes, and it's really fun to read. And so one of the ones that popped up inside of Marvel is called Marvel 1985. And Marvel 1985 it takes place in a very similar universe to ours in 1985. And it follows a young man who loves comic books, and he feels a bit outside of society, this small town that he lives in. And he's not really accepted by people at school, but where he is accepted is the comic book shop, and he loves comic book stories. And one day, some very strange stuff happens at this abandoned house. If this sounds like The Goonies or any of those very similar stories, it feels like that. It starts off that kind of cinema. Come to find out that major Marvel Comics supervillains start pouring out of this house and wrecking this very average town. And so, like what you might imagine, they declare martial law and send in the National Guard to try to deal with what they think are just, random yahoos. They're totally unprepared for supervillains. And the only kid in the town that seems to know what's going on is this young man who knows exactly who the supervillains are because he's such a Marvel Comics fan. And so he does the impossible and manages to get help and figure out how he can solve this problem and what is the mystery of the house and how could these characters even come into the world that he lives in. It feels incredibly cinematic. It just drips with the same kind of vibe as like Super 8 or Goonies or one of those 1985's young protagonist misfit does everything he can to save a world that doesn't understand him. It's a really fun read. Mark Millar delivers every time. It's drawn by Tommy Lee Edwards, which he's joined Mark in a lot of stuff he's done. He's most famous for his Fantastic Four stuff, with also done by Mark Millar, but he's done a ton of Star Wars stuff as well, and Wolverine, Dark Wolverine. He's very talented artist. So it's just 6 issues. Came out in 2008. It's just a really fun read. Marvel 1985. It's just like all of Mark Millar's stories. They're just kind of one and done. Here it is. Read this really awesome little, side project that ties into the Marvel universe in a neighboring universe. It's really fun to read. I recommend it to anybody.
Cool. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hopefully you had a good time. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Aaron.
And you've just listened to The Game Gets Taken.
Tooken?
Tooken.
Tooked?
Tekkened.
Tekkened.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
We are back.
We did it.
I just found another one. I'm up to 7, so I think I'm good. Except I picked last, so I'm probably screwed. Aaron, how was your trip?
It was fine. It was as fine as rural Arkansas gets over New Year's.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I would say no offense to rural Arkansas, but no, you can get offended.
Yeah, I would say plenty of offense.
I just booked a trip actually to Arkansas. We're going to take the camper to Hot Springs National Park, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I know that town is actually, it's a national park town, so it caters to a lot of tourism, and I know lots of parts of Arkansas are terrible because I've been through the entire state many times, but I'm looking forward to trying Hot Springs.
I've actually never had a particular bad interaction with somebody from Arkansas, so I actually think there's this weird, they're known for all these terrible things, but that's just because, nothing really exciting happens in Arkansas, and so, they just get, plastered, whitewashed with, the most newsworthy shit that happens in Arkansas, which is probably not fair. But
hold on. Sit the fuck down and hold my beer.
No, that's all right. You can tell me. So obviously, if you're going to talk with the crazy people there, you're going to get crazy interactions. But there's crazy people in a lot of states.
Sure. My wife is from Arkansas, so her family still lives there. The first trip I ever took down there with her, and this was before we were married. We were in our teens and friends, not dating. I get woken up at 2:00 in the morning. And I'm like, what's going on? We need to go. I need you to go lay down in the bathtub. I'm like, the fuck? So, like, 15-year-old me is like, okay. So I had to go lay in the bathtub and sleep there the rest of the night because crazy fucking Uncle Jerry got the shotgun and they were afraid he was going to start shooting at the house. And the bathtub was the safest fucking place to lay down and sleep and not get shot.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that was my first trip to Arkansas.
Was everyone in a bathtub, or were they just giving you preferential treatment because you were the guest?
It was number 2. There was not enough room for everyone in the bathtub, so they all found safe-ish places, and I got to sleep in a porcelain fucking bed.
Nice.
Yeah, that sounds about yeah.
And Grandma got in trouble for throwing away all the old tubs of butter in her freezer.
Because those are good. That's good Tupperware. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that was good. That was good butter tubs that were full of fucking meth that she didn't know, and so she pitched like 4 tubs of meth. Yeah, I don't need. I've had plenty of fine interactions with a lot of Arkansasians. Mm-hmm. Whatever you want to call them.
Arkansans.
But yes, just you could say the exact same thing about rural Missouri. It's just rural America is going to have that stereotype because it is real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's actually the funny part is like Missouri outside of like, I think Kansas people have a certain particular opinion of Missouri people. But in my experience, which is a limited experience, I spent a lot of time in Missouri. I've spent a reasonable amount of time in Arkansas. The amount of bad interactions I've had with people in Missouri from Missouri is way higher than the people I've had interactions with from Arkansas in Arkansas. So I think all of the bad reputation that Arkansas gets should be directed at Missouri. Like, that's just how I feel. And you can have a completely different experience than me. That's fine. It's just my life experience has led me to say that people in Missouri are meaner and ruder and are way more likely to fill a stereotype than people from Arkansas. But again, that's personal experience.
This is interesting because I feel like you guys are kind of you're coming at it in 2 different directions, and I think
if you go to just the most extreme cases, Arkansas might beat it out, right?
Well,
but the average is so much worse in Missouri.
But the thing is, you're talking about like rude people, and I think the rudest people in America,
and or crazy,
the rudest and or craziest people come from urban centers, in my personal opinion. The most outlandish, like, nonsensical behavior, that happens in rural America. And so I agree with what I'm saying is
you're just allowed to be crazy and people put up with it only in the rural setting.
I think it's because everybody just kind of knows everybody. Nobody really pays attention. The police, police officer's your brother. Like, there's not... The accountability is lower, but also the like a really good example, speaking like drugs. Drugs are a thing that interacts with rural America completely differently than urban America.
It's a whole nother scale.
Yeah, well, in rural America, it's like kind of like you said, tubs of butter. When you drove down the street of the hometown that I graduated high school from, there was marijuana plants, illegally at the time growing out of people's windows. Like, you could just see it. Mm-hmm. They just had giant gardens just in backyards. And nobody gave a shit. Like, there was only, 16 houses in the entire town. Who cares? Yeah. Right? Nobody's coming to bust this unincorporated place. Like, nobody cares. So, that kind of thing is what happens in rural America. Like,
Well, it's just more interesting the way like crime is handled in a small town setting because it's just like, is he actually hurting someone or is he just being crazy on his own property?
Well, there's also kind of stuff. Well, there's also like a long storied history of like the rural rebel in America, like the moonshining thing, prohibition, like really push this idea that you can't take an honest man's job with laws, so they'll just go out in the boonies where you can't catch me, and I'll run moonshine or meth or whatever it is back here, and it is romanticized. It's like they're proud of it, and so it's a totally different feel than an urban center. Anyway,
we got very off topic here.
I guess I'm agreeing with both of you.
Yeah, it's just like weird how like in the city environment there is like I agree with you that like the average person is more rude in like a high population density area, but the amount of insanity that is tolerated is so much lower. It's like the curve is just flattened in the more population you have.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you go outside of the population center, the nicest people you meet with it be there, but also the most absolutely criminally insane people will be there. And so and they interact with each other, and you're like, what's happening? Like, how are you okay with this person?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, that's just, Teddy. Like, that's just who he is. You're like, that's not an okay thing to be. Like, you can't go throwing, like, rabid raccoons in people's windows because you're bored. Like, that's not something you can do.
In the city, they'd be called Crazy Teddy, right? They would be like, everybody would know and have a huge reputation. In the country,
well, you'd been shot or arrested, so you wouldn't have to deal with him. Like, there's so much more peacekeeping initiative in an urban center because, like, it's more dangerous, honestly. Having crazy people in that dense of an area is extremely dangerous. There's nowhere for them to go let off steam.
It makes sense. There's just a lot more social accountability, right? Like there's social systems like police and other things, but there's also just like people around you, right? Like you can't walk onto your porch with your dong out. Like you just can't do it. Like that would be you can't pee off your front porch in a neighborhood there like you can in a rural or a farm community because again, who's going to stop you?
You're just not in public.
There's
right?
no accountability, right? Yeah.
Well, but like you were saying, I would say that you said there's like the threshold of like the social expectation is higher, but it's not because we just talked about how like everyone is on average more rude in a high density population area.
True, that's true.
And so it's just like that's what I'm saying. It's really weird how they're almost like opposites.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the expectation for politeness is so much higher in a rural area.
True.
But you also end up with the like most off the scale people at the same time. It's just weird. Like I would say most people in an urban environment are not surprised or upset to see people be rude.
It's I just had a funny thought. They give you their shirt off their back, right?
Yeah.
Literally right then when they really shouldn't. That's the idea, right? It's like they're so nice and kind, but really inappropriate right now. All of a sudden, whoa!
Yeah, I'm trying to navigate around a particular topic that we should not bring up on the podcast.
Don't do it. I believe
I
in you.
know, right?
You did a good job.
But there's something I'd like to say about it. I'm just making the point that I'm actually not going to bring up the topic.
Aaron, I don't know if I think you shared this once. Where are you originally from? Like where? Like if you what is your childhood home? Did you have one, or did you have?
I spent the school year in suburbia St. Louis, and I spent the summers in rural nowhere Missouri.
Okay, so you know of what we speak, right? Do you agree?
Of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we all get to talk about video games now because we're all playing a different video game at the moment.
Okay.
Aaron, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Since you're currently playing said video game.
Absolutely.
I would like to know how many orbs are you up to now? And this is not facetious. I'm asking. Like, what does that mean?
He has at least 8 orbs.
No, it's a lot more than 8.
I said at least 8.
If we're talking about a exalted orb equivalent, I used to have probably 3,500, and I'm down to about 1,500 right now.
Did you trade them in for some other like
gear?
Resource?
I traded them in for gear. So yeah.
Now, I've come to learn that Path of Exile is the currency you're trying to acquire, because I don't know yet. Are you trading this on like an open market, or are you trading this for like a game vendor? Like how's it working?
Open market.
Open market. Okay.
Yep.
Because I've heard that there's
Go ahead. Oh.
I was asking. I've heard that there are 2 different kinds of like realms you can join. One is you're totally solo, all by yourself, doing it all by yourself, and then there's one in which you can trade. Is that about right? Am I close?
No, you are absolutely wrong.
Oh, okay.
There is only one realm.
You're so wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You've never been more wrong.
Games like, I think Diablo. Yeah, Diablo has it's called solo self-found. What the first part you're talking about? They have a specific realm for solo self-found. Last Epic, which is another ARPG that I actually really like. They have a mechanic where you can opt into one of 2 factions. One of them you can trade with other people, and one of them you cannot. And if you don't trade with people, you get bonuses to what you find.
Mm.
Like they kind of make up for the fact that you can't trade, so they'll give you more items on the ground, in essence. In Path of Exile, right now, you can choose to play solo self-found as a restriction personally, but there is not a separate league, nor is there any bonus whatsoever for doing it, other than the personal satisfaction of I'm playing solo self-found, which is not nothing.
That's interesting. I was watching a YouTuber. This is like 2 weeks ago when I was trying to get into the game before I found out my computer couldn't handle it yet. That he was reporting on some data they acquired in terms of popularity and also survival rates of different classes, and he broke them down by solo self-found and non-solo self-found. I wonder how he was getting that data if the game doesn't know what you're doing. It's just a personal choice. I wonder how he was getting the data now. I just assumed it was something I assumed he was pulling it from some sort of server data, but I do not know.
Game client or something.
Yeah. Maybe
I
something
do not believe there's a solo self-found. I could fucking be wrong here. I don't think there's a solo self-found league.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't elaborate on where he was getting his data. He just talked about it as if this is the data. Obviously, listeners who've done this watched me a million times, so I didn't go into it, but I was curious.
Yeah, maybe it's just published somewhere and he just analyzed it.
The reason why I asked is that in that video they mentioned that they called them ascendancies, right? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the subclasses, certain ascendancies were like way higher prevalencies on non-self-found. For example, the elemental mage ascendancy, I can't remember its name.
Stormweaver,
sorceress.
I believe.
What's that?
Stormweaver?
Yeah. Stormweaver, yes, was by far the highest number of players playing that at the highest level, and also surviving at the highest level on self-found, meaning they had the ability to acquire items that everybody was finding and using, their currency to.
Are you sure they weren't talking about hardcore as a separate league?
Okay, maybe. I thought it was self-found and not self-found. Maybe I was wrong.
I think it was called softcore and hardcore. Hardcore being you die once, you're done.
Now in hardcore, they did mention in hardcore the most there was not that one. In hardcore, the most popular one was the witch, the summoner, because the summons are a lot easier way to play, of course, because you just be a lot safer. But
so there is obviously the game's in a beta. It's not hopefully going to release in its current form. One issue the game has is that like the orb drop rates are tied to your item rarity stat. So the more item rarity you have, the better chance the orbs that drop are rarer, therefore more valuable. So if you want to play a class that doesn't need many defenses, like the mage, because you stay back and just freeze everything, you can afford to put more item rarity stats on your gear. So that's why it's so sought after, or chosen rather, because you're able to farm much more efficiently on that character than you are, say, a melee tank. Because the melee tank does not have extra slots to put stupid shit like item rarity. You need life and defenses. So that's why there's a huge imbalance.
Item rarity is a stat you can buff?
Yeah.
That doesn't... Okay, I guess what is... And the only thing it does is increases the drop rates of orbs.
No, it also makes the gear that you find be... so gear can drop in one of 4 rarities, like normal, magic, rare, and unique. Mm-hmm. You will get more unique and rare gear with the higher your item rarity.
It's basically magic item find.
Yeah, it's magic find.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the rarity of the item, like you were improving it from like ultra to legendary. Oh, you mean
to unlock higher stats?
Yeah. Okay. No, you mean like literally it's a stat like luck, for example. It's one that just increases the chances of you. Okay.
Magic find for everyone else. It's
for Diablo players, it's magic find.
Shit that drops is better. That's what you should think of it as.
And so they just
increase rate. Yeah.
So they tied that to not only magical items with names, but also just the generic orbs.
Yes.
I see.
So I think what people hope is that they will just mea culpa and eliminate that stat from gear totally. Which kind of sucks because it's nice to have some, but anyway, maybe they buff the drop rates of everything a little bit and then just get rid of the stat. That way people can stop having to put item rarity on gear to feel like they're keeping up with the Joneses in terms of getting their either gear or orbs, whatever you're farming for.
Yeah, I think it's a good mechanic. The issue becomes where if it's good enough to show a marketable improvement, then you basically have to have a set of grinding gear that has massive, magic find.
Yep.
And to pump up your stats, and then just go infinitely grind. And I think that gameplay loop is not enjoyable because you're grinding for gear that will allow you to grind. And if that's the case, just get rid of the middleman and just have them go grind with gear that isn't shitty.
So
yes, like you shouldn't have grinding gear and bossing gear. Like just
exactly, it creates a bad gameplay loop. Where I think the mechanic works, I think it creates bad content.
What if they just took the orb part off and just let it find magic items?
That would also decrease. That would decrease the desirability to do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Like most unique gear in the game is shit, unless it's tied to a boss drop. Like there are pinnacle bosses that drop good, interesting uniques, but most of the uniques that drop just in the world are not overpowered or usually even good. Which I think is great. It makes the game focused around the rare items in the game that you craft yourself or find. It's not just, I found this unique equip. I'm all of a sudden doing the exact same build as everyone else with this fucking bow. So I think they could remove orbs from the rarity equation. Again, I think they need to buff the drop rate a little bit to compensate for, to keep the overall drop rates about what they are now. And great, ship it. That's great. We'll see what they do though.
All right. So the most important moment of this, from 0 to 10 pizza rolls, give this game a rating to its current point.
Right now?
Mm-hmm. Early January 2025.
For whom? That's the interesting
for you.
Question.
It's
for
your
me?
rating. Yeah.
Oh, for me, it's a 10.
10 pizza rolls. That's a lot of pizza rolls.
So the game came out December 6th. It's now January 8th. I've been playing for 32 days. How many hours do you think I played in 32 days?
6.
Okay, 6. We have one guess, Parker.
And
So if you did not sleep, there are 768 hours.
Yeah, I'm going with 6.
I'm going to say if you did not sleep, so I'm going to say like 90.
Oh, I was going to go actually like closer to 200.
Oh.
Because I know he was out of town, but
I have. I spent a day in Springfield at a tournament. I went out of town for 3 days to Arkansas. I mean, I have lived life as well as played Path of Exile. But
yeah, I would say like 2 of those weeks you were very distracted doing stuff like playing games and stuff. But I think there was a solid 2.5 to 3 weeks where you were just playing basically every day. I think it's closer to 200.
You want the right answer or the correct answer?
Yeah.
350.
Yeah.
That means that for the past 32 days, I played an average of about 11 hours a day. I don't know how you give that game anything less than 10 pizza rolls.
Well, you can play games that are bad. We have a lot of experience of this with the internet showing us people are playing classic WoW Classic right now. Yeah. So I don't know what to tell them, but
I mean, honestly, it's probably about an 8.5. There are definitely some improvements they need to make to the game. Yeah, it's definitely early access. I really think they need to fix the early portion of the campaign difficulty to let it ramp up a little easier. I think it is way too hard to get people hooked in. But that's really about it. I really like it.
Good. But we all knew you were going to like it. Like, they would have to have such a huge flop for you to dislike the game, so... Because we know that they already know all what they need to do to make a good game. And so it's just how close to the mark they get.
I'd be disappointed if it stays in this form for release. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I have heard in my exam, because all I've been able to do is examine and not play. I have heard that a lot of players who are putting lots of time in it are very frustrated by what they see as imbalance amongst the ascendancies, and I'm sure that's just something they adjust over time, right? But
I've only played one, so beat the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
But that's true of a lot of ARPGs when they launch. Like, the internal balance within the classes is always terrible on launch. Because they just don't have the volume stats to tweak the numbers. And so, but they usually at least make adjustments. Now, Blizzard usually isn't the best about getting on that early, but it is what it is.
Now, I'm playing a melee, and it is so bad compared to ranged in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I've also heard
it's like that in all RPGs, but in this one in particular. Like,
I've also
I feel
heard
bad about that.
that,
Oh well.
Yeah, I've also heard that the armor stat in general is very weak compared to the other defensive stats, and there not much they can do about it. But this is just what I'm hearing. Again, I haven't touched it.
Yes and no. I've watched some of the same videos. You're not wrong. On the other hand, people like to create content just like we do for
Right.
Getting people to listen to it. So the fact that people now say, "Oh, armor's shit," like, I played a pretty high armor. I'm playing a melee warrior with high armor, and yes, I can still get one shot by bosses. It's not keeping me alive, but it makes me almost invulnerable to lots of little attacks. Okay, that's not nothing, right?
It's pretty relevant. If you can just wade through enemies and not die, that's probably fine. That's what I got really frustrated with Diablo 3 about was, you go with a barbarian in the mid-tier and you just get melted by regular dudes. It was so frustrating. It's like, how am I supposed to perform my job if I can't even survive regular minions?
Yeah.
And then, they completely changed the mechanic later, and it wasn't so bad.
Now, I'm playing a block heavy warrior.
Okay.
I took a unique shield that reduces my block chance to 65%, but re-rolls it if I fail. So it turns what your max block of 75 normally to a re-rollable 65, which is the equivalent of an 88.
Mm-hmm.
And then my ascendancy lets me block almost everything in the game: AOE's, spells, burst air, ground bubble damage, doesn't matter. So high block coupled with block everything keeps me pretty tanky. But there are still so many ways you can build in the game. I'm still really excited to explore.
All right, Parker,
Hmm?
What game have you been playing?
I've been playing a fuckload of Marvel Rivals.
The game sucks.
It is by far the most captivating version of this game I've ever played. And I played a fair amount of Overwatch, but I wasn't at all enthralled like I am with this one. And I think the IP is a big to blame for it. It is fun, and the characters do feel...
Really? I definitely tried it because it was Rivals. If it was like Apex Legends 2, I wouldn't have cared.
No.
So I definitely tried it because it was Marvel Rivals. I don't know that it's the reason I kept playing the game, though. I don't think it had anything to do with that.
I think the game... I think it is the thing that gets me to play other characters. Because I'm like, I really like Captain America. I just love the character. And I'm going to try him out in the game, even though it may not be what I like to play. The fact that they have, made one of my favorite characters in the game, and he looks fun, and it's so satisfying to throw shields and bounce them off of people's faces, and it makes that awesome sound, that bang sound. That sound keeps me playing the character, even though he's not strong today, although in 2 days he's going to be a lot stronger. They're buffing him. But
did they announce an update?
Mm-hmm. Well, season 1 starts, I think, in 2 days, and they're introducing 2 new characters, and 2 new maps, and a new arcade, and some character nerfing and buffing. So they're moving and shaking. Everybody is a little bit... The community is super excited because they are really going ham with the stuff, adding stuff to the game really fast. But everybody's like, there's no way they can keep this up. This is kind of silly. This season's kind of a 2-part season. They're introducing the Fantastic Four over the course of this next season, and they're doing 4 new characters. And everybody's like, 4 new characters after the game's only been out for 5 or 6 weeks? That's kind of insane. 8 weeks maybe. But yeah, they are... everybody's a little nervous. This pace is kind of crazy. They have said already they're not putting in 4 characters every season. This is special because it's the Fantastic Four. They want to do all 4 of them at the same time. Most of the time it will not be this, but still. The cast could get really big really fast. And that is good and bad, but we'll see. But my favorite character to play right now, which is Captain America, he is getting buffed. And I say he's my favorite character to play, not my best character, because he's really hard to play right now. He needs a buff, but he's going to get one. So I'm excited to try it out.
How much have you been playing? You'd never played Captain America when we were playing.
No. I have played him now. I think a total of like 3 or 4 hours. I want to say I'm playing him a bunch. He is the tank character that I play the most. I was playing a bunch of Penny, but she's very one-dimensional. I find that she just doesn't. She's literally static, right? She's like a turreter, and she likes to stand there and shoot and do her thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes she feels great, and a lot of times she feels terrible. And I wanted to play something dynamic, and he's definitely that. They're also buffing Venom, which I think I'll probably try again.
Yeah, I'm reading that now. That seems crazy. I already thought he was really strong.
He is not.
I know. Well, the problem is he doesn't do nearly enough damage compared to the
problem.
other melee characters.
Yeah.
But like they're talking about, well, they're going to increase his survivability. I'm like, that's not going to help.
Yeah. Well, right now I think and also the game, they're definitely focused on the highest level of play, which will have effects on the lowest level of play. But they're focused at the highest level. And at the highest level, Cap survives pretty well, but he doesn't do anything, and except disrupt healers. And Venom actually dies really fast to a coordinated team. So, but yeah, they are really doing a bunch of quality of life stuff, a bunch of direct gameplay stuff, and like I said, over the course of the season, they're introducing 3 new maps, like completely, and at the debut, it's only 1 new map, and the second map is in arcade mode, but that'll eventually become a second map totally, and then another map on top of that. Like 3 new maps and 4 characters after the first literally season 1. It's a nutty pace to keep, and I don't know how they keep it, so I'm hoping that they slow down a little bit. Actually, I'd like things to trickle out a little bit, but yeah, the game is just roaring. All cylinders are firing. It's fun. It is fun. I have not had a game like this in a while because all my games I've been playing are kind of lame duck games that people are, either revisiting after they've been updated and they got really hyped and then really disparaged, or they're slowly dying, like a very, on life support, just kind of cruising along. And those are the only games I've played for like 2 years. So it's really fun to play a game that I'm excited to play, and it's really positively received and a lot of positive attention. Good energy in the game right now.
Brandon,
who are the new
go ahead.
I was saying, who are the new characters they're adding?
The Fantastic Four.
Right, gotcha.
So the first, it's Sue Storm and Mr. Fantastic first.
Yeah.
And then Johnny Storm and Thing.
What were you saying, Aaron?
I was just going to say, it seemed like you had an opposite opinion of Marvel Rivals.
Oh, no, I like Rivals.
Okay.
I was just fucking with Parker.
You're just giving shit? Okay.
Yeah. No, it's my favorite version of Overwatch, which is, I think pretty obvious for anyone who's played it. I am happy to see that they're doing a balance update this soon, although I didn't remember seeing Iron Fist in here anywhere. Did I just miss it?
No, he's not being changed.
Yeah, he's not being changed. Nerf Iron Fist. I'm going to live on this hill forever. Yeah, I like it. It's just, I don't know. I think any of those Battle Realms games are easy to get sucked into and just spend all of your time playing them. And then I feel like feel like at the end of that, I just don't have anything to show for it. I was like, what did you do today? And they're like, I played 8 matches of, Rivals. And you're like, anything else? And you're like, nope, that was 4 hours. That's like, shit.
You know what's funny to me? Is that I was actually talking to Sarah about this. This is the only kind of game, and I used to experience this all the time. Like, I leave a session of Marvel Rivals feeling good. Like emotionally, I feel good. Like, I walk away whistling.
I think really you definitely
fun.
have bad matches, but it's not like bad matches of Overwatch where you just be so furious you wouldn't want to play a game for a couple days.
Right, and also those games lasted like a third longer, right? You lost a third longer, and you were spending most of your time.
You definitely have bad runs of League of Legends where like, I just don't want to play video games for a while. Like, it just ruined it for me because it's like you just have like toxic teammates or something. And you can still obviously have bad matches of Rivals, but I feel like even on matches we lose, there's a big difference between like, oh, this was just not fun because we got absolutely destroyed. And then there's like, it feels like they did a really good job of feeling like you were fighting for it even when you lose. I like that about the game.
Yeah, I unlike some other games, like you said, like the accomplishment kind of games, I've been playing so many of those for so long, like RPGs where there's, more like plot flavored RPGs where I do feel really good when I finish the story because I accomplished something. That's the accomplishment. But for some of the never ending RPGs like Destiny, where it's just content after content, and they're just going to keep giving you more stuff to do, I would leave a game session going, well, I did more stuff. Like, I definitely collected more stuff. I saw more plot. I have the best weapons. I have the best armors. Like, I've done it all. But I didn't feel better. I just felt accomplishment, which doesn't give me the same kind of satisfaction as, wow, that was really hard, and I won, or it's really hard, and I lost. I felt like I contributed to the game. Like, you're supposed to lose 40% of games, right? Even if you're really good, you're losing 40% of games, right? And you're only contributing to a certain amount of games, like actually the outcome. So those kind of games, should make you feel maybe less accomplished. And like you said, you don't gain really much of anything except a few tokens they give you at the end. But I still feel good. And I think it's just me. I think some players just enjoy that and some players don't.
Yeah. My biggest actual gripe for the game so far is they say that you can get like skins and stuff with in-game currency, but at the rate that I looked at, you would have to play for like 4 weeks of nonstop play to get one skin, is what it felt like. And maybe I'm just like not getting the rewards or something correctly, but man, I've gotten like I've got like 400 of their like blue resource. I'm like not even like a third of the way towards getting a skin. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I played this game for like a week solid. I got basically nothing.
Yeah,
League of Legends is the same way, right? Like it takes like a month's worth of effort to get like a skin, and it's just like, sure, like you'd have to play this game a crazy amount to get more.
Yeah,
but anyway, it's fine. I just wish like you were able to get access to that stuff, but it's also a free to play game, so it's hard to complain about the resource mechanics. You could just go buy it if you wanted it.
Right.
So, slightly different tangent. I thought of a funny story.
Okay.
My wife came up to me today, and she said I needed to improve my life balance.
She means play less video games?
Well, I wasn't sure what she meant, so I said, I'll make a ranged character next, just don't rush me.
How did she accept that?
She said,
Dego.
You told me that you were going to be gone from like me and the family for 30 days, and it's been 32. And I said, well, that was more of a approximation.
Yeah. Now you will see me sometimes, as opposed to never.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe if I trim from 11 hours a day to 9, does that count as a work-life balance? I don't know.
I actually have a question for you, Aaron.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you like it, and that can be the reason. But what is the reason to go so hard right now? Like, is it a race? Like, do you actually have a...
No, there's no race.
Oh, there's no like reward for going faster in the game or socially in the game?
Oh, God, no, I'm going slow. People will get to where I'm at in fucking 2% of the time it's taken me. I am enjoying the aspects of the game right now. Like, for instance, I took 3 days off, and I just grinded one of the end game mechanics. Didn't get any levels, but I just wanted to see what kind of rewards I could get out of it. That gave me a significant number of orbs and other gear, but I just wanted to see if I could do it, because it's a challenging end game mechanic. So I'm just trying to figure out everything the game has to offer and doing it at my pace. So, because for people who don't know, endgame is largely consists of mapping, which are small zones, but you get to customize the zones in a random way, meaning you can roll affixes or modifiers on these zones that make them both more rewarding and more challenging. And the challenging modifiers will be challenging for some people, but not others. For instance, burning ground is a modifier. I could care the fuck less if it has burning ground. Like, whatever. It's not going to kill me. Other people are like, I cannot do a map that has burning ground, just based on how their character's built. So every time you run a zone, it's going to be different depending on what modifiers you, the player, put on that zone through the expenditure of your resources, and what mobs spawn in the zone. Because if there's a a mod that says the mobs each fire 3 projectiles instead of 1. That's either irrelevant because there aren't models or monsters in the zone that fire projectiles, or it fucking one-shots you because you have a model that shoots 9 projectiles that all of a sudden becomes 27. And you have to realize what mods are on this map and how does that mod specifically affect the monsters that I'm now finding, because you don't know what monsters are in the map until you go there.
Yeah, it's not just how that will affect your hero, but how it will affect the mobs in the zone and how those mobs in the zone will interact with you now.
Right. So end game is not just like repeat farm this boss. Every map is different. Every single fucking one. Now you can get your build so good that you just don't care. You just like wipe everything. I'm not there yet. So I'm really enjoying continuing to explore and learn. Oh, that was fucking horrible. Why was that horrible? Oh, because these 2 mods combined with this mob, and that's what wrecked me. And I continue to learn and iterate and be like, okay, let's not do that again. So anyway.
All right, Parker, give us a rating for Rivals.
Before I found out what they were doing in Season 1, I think I would have given it a 7. Now that I see how they're treating like the game and the attention to it, and how exciting how fast they're doing it, I'm going to give it a 9. I think in terms of the game that it is, it's doing a really good job.
I'm going to stop at an 8 for Rivals because they haven't released Doom yet. So when we get Doom, I'll reevaluate the game, but it's only getting an 8 from me.
You know what? There's one more thing that has to do with Rivals is they have a tendency. Marvel has a tendency to do shit. Manage their IP simultaneously, right? Mm-hmm. So they just released Fantastic Four and Rivals. Maybe, just maybe, maybe my favorite miniatures game.
I mean, conveniently, we don't know a whole lot about this year's release cycle, so we'll see.
We know some, and they're not in it, but we don't know all of it.
I mean, who do we know outside of the 5 models we know?
Inhumans? Brotherhood?
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I don't think we know quarter 4, right? We know 1, 2, and probably 3.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. All right. So to my game, I've been playing Days Gone. Aaron had not heard of this previously. Parker, do you know what Days Gone is?
I know of it. I have never played it.
It's basically, it's an RPG that's kind of like Walking Dead meets Sons of Anarchy. You play a biker club member that is still alive 2 years after the zombie apocalypse, but the zombies are just infected. They're still alive. They're not undead. They're just mutated people that have been affected by this virus. So you don't have to shoot them in the head, but they are effectively fast zombies other than that. And there's a bunch of different versions. There's berserkers and stuff that are way tougher and hit harder, but you have to really try to kill them. And then there's you can get infected animals. There's bears and cougars and wolves and stuff that will get infected and attack you as well. But because it's a survival game, there's resources and stuff in the game. You're basically there's an herbalist mechanic where you can go around and collect different herbs that you can use to make health cocktails and stamina potions and stuff. And then you can make med kits and bandages and things, and you have a stamina mechanic where you can sprint and roll and do combat maneuvers and stuff, but it drains your stamina, and then you have to go 3 seconds without doing anything exerting wise, and it'll slowly start rebuilding. And then there's a bullet time mechanic that uses focus, and there's a lot of different skills and stuff you can do. There's 3 different skill trees in the game that you can build up a melee set of skills. You can do range stuff, which is where you build up focus. Then there's survivalist things where you can, when you skin an animal for meat, you get more meat. And then there's a social interaction with the game, because there's all these survival outposts that you'll meet throughout the game, and then you gain favor with them, and they have camp money that they use, and so when you turn in supplies that you found out in the wilderness, they give you money that only works at their camp, because there's no standardized currency. And so you'll build up reputation and money with different places where you're oh, well, I need to buy more bullets, and so I have to go to this camp because I have money there. I don't have any money at this camp, and so you can do stuff. Then there's marauders and raiders that will try and kill you. And then there's also complete psycho cult people that will just try and eat you, and so you have to watch out for those guys too.
I
think the
Go ahead.
the part I like the most about the game is the scavenging and going out like, oh, here's an old gas station and like finding a bunch of useful resources. Like, I'm going to make a pipe bomb out of the stuff I found here and like stuff like that.
I have seen a lot of clips from the game of people purposely poking hordes.
Hordes are like the cool mechanic of the game is that you can fight like 200 enemies at once and you have like no chance of defeating them unless you use tactics.
Yeah.
And so you have to like set up choke points and you can set up like tripwire bombs and there's like, log traps you can set where like logs will roll over the swarm and kill a bunch of them for you. And then you can like climb up on stuff and then they'll like funnel up to you. But you have to be really careful because you can only take like 3 hits before you die most of the time. And so if you get swarmed, you're just dead. And because they'll knock you down and just kill you in like 2 seconds. But then for the longest time, I was like, how the fuck are you supposed to fight these guys? Because you start off with like a pistol and a crossbow and like a bolt action rifle is like you're starting a complement of weapons. And you can only carry amount of ammo equal to like 3 reloads. Or like, yeah, it's 3 reloads. So you have 4 magazines worth of ammo. Well, the pistol you start with only has 8 rounds. So you only have like 24 bullets and it takes 4 shots from your pistol to kill the zombie. So you just can't kill that many. Like you run out of bullets and you just die because you pull out your boot knife and it takes like 10 shots to kill one with a knife, and so you just can't fight more than like 10 at a time. And even 10 at a time is probably too much because you have the stamina to run away from them for long enough before they catch you. And so I thought I was just doing something wrong or I was really bad at the game. And then I realized as you level up in the game, your stats get better so you can run for longer, but also you get much better weapons. Like, there's a whole grading system. Like, you have the same gun as somebody you kill, and you might not realize that their gun is a better conditioned gun than yours. And so they've got junk, average, good, mil-spec, and special ops are like the 5 grades of weapons that you can have. So if you find somebody who has like a spec ops tactical shotgun, and you have a junk shotgun, that will do almost double or triple the damage of your shotgun. But it has the same magazine and everything, uses the same ammo. So you can swap out that gun. But if you ever lose that gun, it's gone. And so if you go to some camps, they'll sell you a gun. And when you buy the gun from a vendor, it's yours. You keep it forever. And so you can go to any gun locker in the game, which is like a stash box, and you can get that gun out of it. So you have like an arsenal of different weapons you can choose from, which is kind of cool. But yeah, when you're first starting, you don't understand that mechanic because like the camp you first meet doesn't even sell guns. You're like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. And so it took me a long time to figure that out. But now it's like kind of fun to try and kill hordes because I have like proximity bombs, remote trigger bombs, landmines, and I have like these napalm jars I've made. And so now it's like actually fun to fight them. But the thing that surprised me is how much they put into like the story of the game, which I haven't played an RPG in a while. And so it was just surprising. They do a really good job of you never getting bored because there's always something going on. Like, my biggest complaint about the game right now is there's sometimes some cutscenes. They're like interactive cutscenes, so you can't skip them. But you also can't like, it's like, oh, well, while you work from this building to this building, you're going to talk to this person. Well, they set the walk speed in that game frustratingly slow. Because like, you can sneak in the game, and the cutscene walking speed is half that. And so I'm like, oh my god, this is so annoying. I have to walk like 100 yards, but it takes 5 minutes because they make you walk so slow in cutscenes. It's so frustrating. Like, I'd rather just stand here and have you tell me stuff.
Do you have to follow them as they're talking to you?
Yes.
Or is it actually a cutscene? Yeah.
No, it's the stupid, like, fake cutscene.
I'd
rather it just be a cutscene.
That's very vogue in video games right now, that rather than taking you, like, your hands off the controller and just watching your character walk around, you have to, like, pilot your character. It's supposed to be more immersive. And I get how, to somebody from 1995,
it's a gimmick,
that would have been fucking amazing. Like, if you would have given me the controller and said, walk around while a character talks to you like a cutscene, I would have shat my pants, right? As like, as a 17-year-old. But now, I just want the cinematic experience. I feel like you said, it's tedious as shit to walk behind a person walking at a regular walking and talking pace.
Well, it's not like a walking pace though. It's a cinematic walking speed,
right?
And so they're like really milking it, and I'm like, oh my god, just fucking go. And the worst part though, sometimes it's in an open setting. There's not like an obvious path,
right?
And it's like, follow me, I'll tell you a story, and you start following them, and so you're like, well, they actually walk faster than you. And so you kind of have to predict where they're going and cut corners, or they'll get ahead of you and you can't fucking hear them anymore. And so you have to read the captions because you're too far away for the voice to carry. And so like you're trying to predict, but there's like a bunch of turns. If you just guess wrong once, then you're just like, okay, well now I'm never going to catch them. And so it's just like, it's a garbage interaction. It's so stupid. I fucking hate it.
My least favorite version of that is in Assassin's Creed games, because in Assassin's Creed,
the button presses.
The problem is in Assassin's Creed they'll walk down like the regular cityscapes, and there are people everywhere. Everywhere, like it's very thick. It's supposed to be like a densely populated thing. So it's one of the mechanics.
You're
in the
like
game
bouncing off people.
Yeah, so literally you can bounce into people, and they will prevent you from traveling. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, so you're actively managing like crowd control while you're trying to listen to somebody and follow their pace, and like you said, their path. It is actively like frustrating. It's like the worst version of an escort mission is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what they're trying to make it is an immersive cutscene. Instead, it just feels like a terrible escort, and you want to just be like, please, just let me, just let me watch. I'd be totally fine with watching, and a cinematographer choosing what I'm looking at. That would have been fine.
So yeah, like I played a lot of Left 4 Dead when it first came out, a little bit of Left 4 Dead 2 as well, and I really like those games. And I also really like survival games where you have to like really keep track of resources and stuff. And so I've actually really enjoyed this playthrough. But when I saw the original trailer for this game, I was like, oh, this game looks amazing. And then I found out it was going to be single player. I was like, oh, I kind of wanted to play with a group. Like, I figured that would be really cool. Like moving around as a group in a survival zombie game. I was like, man, that sounds so cool. It's like, it's not just killing hordes and machine gunning everything. Like, you actually have to pay attention to your ammo and stuff. I was like, oh, okay. Like, there's a huge advantage to using the crossbow, because they wanted the crossbow to be a really integral part of the game, because Daryl in Walking Dead uses a crossbow, and he's also a biker, and that's basically the main character you're playing. So the crossbow has a lot of really good advantages. It has the most damage of the starting weapons, and it's silent, and so using it doesn't attract more zombies, and you can use it to, like, overtake a marauder camp without alerting them, because it's automatically silenced. And so it's super useful. And then the most important part, you can just scavenge more arrows by like certain kinds of trees. You can get like new arrows and just use them. So you have infinite ammo in a game where you really struggle to keep enough ammo. It's really good, but they just have a really low like maximum amount of arrows you can have on you at once. So it's really tedious. And so it's like, well, I can only have 6 arrows. You're like, well, I just like, I need to kill 10 zombies. I can't stop and craft arrows while they're stabbing me. And so like, it's just really annoying. I would think if they had just like not made it overly punitive, it would have been a lot more popular. But anyway, yeah, I've got almost exclusively negative reviews of people who have played the game. Everyone who's played it told me it sucks. And so I was like, well, that's really bad. And so I didn't buy it for like years. And then finally it was on sale, and I was like, it's like 75% off. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to buy it. So I bought it. I've been playing it the last like week and a half. It's been great. I actually really like it. And so I'm just surprised that nobody else liked it. And maybe it was worse when it first launched and they made some updates that fixed it. But since it's not like a live game that updates, that just seems surprising to me. I'd probably give this game 7 out of 10 pizza rolls. If they didn't have fucking walking cutscenes, I'd give it an 8. It's seriously like so annoying. But like I remember playing Assassin's Creed and some other RPGs back in the day, like Fallout, and there's times when you're just kind of bored. You're like, man, I need to go do this thing, but I'm just really not excited to go do it. Or like there's just nothing going on. And it's like, man, I'm kind of just in a lull in between missions. That has not happened to me once in this game. There's always stuff going on. And it's not just like you're running from mission to mission, but like just exploring random village that's like, or like random town that's burned out is so cool. Because there's like this really high stress level because there's zombies everywhere. And there's like a detective mode in the game where it's called survival mode, and you can like see through walls and stuff of like where supplies are. And so you know like where you're going and what you're trying to find. But there's also like, you can like stealth clear a camp and like go in and avoid the zombies and not have to fight them. Or you can just, full on murder them all and make a lot of noise to attract all of them and fight them as like a mini horde. And then there's also like the same thing with bad guys. You can like stealth a whole marauder camp and just like knife in the back people a lot and not have to fire a single shot. And you take out the whole camp. And so it's just a really nice like combination of game modes I've enjoyed. And also, like, your premier mode of travel is a motorcycle, which is actually really fun to drive in the game. And you can upgrade it, so you get, like, better tires, better gas tank to hold more gas, and, like, you can, like, get saddlebags that hold more ammo for you. There's, like, a lot of cool stuff. Your bike can get damaged, and you have to repair it with scrap metal you find.
It does sound... It sounds kind of like like a Red Dead Redemption, set in zombies, which like a modern, But I really love that formula. I bet it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I also like games that say things like, you can tell there was a fun development, step where they're like, what kind of cool things could we do? You're like, well, saddlebags, that'd be fun. Like to upgrade that, like a way to something to
There's
do. There's
like 100 different paint jobs you can put on your bike, and I was like, what the fuck? Like I refuse to use any of them because I like the way it looks when it's just like a junker bike and it looks like it's all run down. I was like, I don't think you should have a nice bike in the apocalypse. Anyway, we probably talked enough about video games. All right, let's get on to our Mojo world. I just like everybody to know that I clearly have better taste in music than Parker because according to the votes here, I got 13 votes. Boom. No, nothing. Fine.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, my first thing was, it's a draft, so we don't always get to pick the thing that we want, right? But this time, really, we didn't cross over.
Yeah, I think we both pretty much got all the stuff we wanted.
Like
the only thing that you got that I wanted, let me see the list again. You got Queen and I guess CCR. I would have chosen CCR as like my sixth pick if you hadn't picked it. So Queen and CCR were both something I would have picked, but I would have never chosen Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones, despite I think they're both great picks. They're just not what I would pick. And then, did I pick anything that you wanted? Probably AC/DC.
I do like AC/DC, and I like you picked a lot of bands that I don't know their collections, right? Like I know of them, obviously I know of them, but I don't know a lot of their collections. I picked bands that I chose at different stages of my life to go, I want to know all the things this band has done, and so I went down the rabbit hole with them. What really surprised, well, maybe not what shouldn't surprise me, is that I love actually that CCR got 0 votes, and the reason why is did you know CCR has? Did you know that CCR has a really interesting statistic in the history of all music history, modern music history? They are the band that has the highest number of number 2 hits without ever having a number 1.
Interesting.
Because they have like 14 number 2 hits. It's an insane number.
I remember there's also a crazy stat for like Ozzy Osbourne had never had a number 1 album in his lifetime until he released his last album, which was in 2014 or something, called Black Ice. And it was not good. Like, it was bad, and he got a number 1 off of that. But if you go back, you're like, how is it even possible? Like, the worst album he ever released charted higher than any of his other albums. And it was just like, dude just had the worst luck ever. It's like when he released Bark at the Moon, and it was like the same week as Thriller coming out, and it's like, bro, like that's just bad luck. Like the 100% this album should have done better.
Yeah. And
so it's just those weird timing things.
So anyway, I love the CCR got no love on this one either because they've always been number 2. There's a famous
CCR is rarely anyone's first choice, but it's very good. It's just that great like jam band kind of just like I just want to put something on and just enjoy it in the background while I do something else. CCR is a good pick.
They told John Fogerty about this in an interview. Like they said, did you know, John, that you're like you have this interesting distinction of being the most number 2s ever? And he stopped for a second and he thought about it. He's like, well, shit. Like he realized that he never because they had multi-platinum albums over and over again, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't. He just realized it's like, oh yeah, I guess we've never had.
Would you say that he's like the Kenny of rock and roll guys, or he's just always just coming in second a lot?
Yeah, I think that is. He is the Kenny of rock and roll. Always surprises me.
So this week we're going to do an actor. We're going to do Liam Neeson. Let me get my thing pulled up. All right, so Aaron's going first. And then Parker, and then myself.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm taking.
Ugh, taken is
Those-
taken.
I think you mean Taken.
I took taken. I what?
Did I tell you guys this joke? A friend of mine, Sam, was at he was watching Taken 3 in the movies because for some reason they can't say kidnapped in the movies, right? Like they have to say Taken because it's the tagline. And so at no point in the first Taken movie, I believe they ever say anything other than Taken. They specifically only say Taken for that. And so he's watching the third one, and they're like at this table, like the typical military planning table with the map on it, and they're like, so here's where she was abducted. And then there's a pause, and everybody looks at each other, and Sam's like, I swear to God, I thought they were going to deadpan to Liam Neeson. He's like, you mean Taken? And so there's like an inside joke we had forever, where it's just like, you mean Taken? Okay, Parker, you're up. Just keep in mind, if you pick one of mine, I'm going to take your best one. So you better take it right now.
I'm going to go with what I always do, which is go with my heart. The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh. All right, I'm just going to hate pick both of you guys now because you guys took ones. Well, you didn't take one I was going to take, but I'm just going to punish you for no reason. But Aaron took one I was going to pick. Okay. I'm going to do Kingdom of Heaven. Why? You look confused, Parker.
I am a little confused.
Why are you confused?
As soon as I said The Dark Knight Rises,
you realize you didn't want to pick that?
that's the third
That's
movie,
the third
isn't it?
one.
Oh.
You mean
The one he's not in.
I'm at the first one. No, he is in that one. He does like a cameo in it.
You want Batman Begins?
I want Batman Begins, yes.
Okay.
I had a total
He's
brain
in it like a cameo moment, yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer Dark Knight Rises over Batman Begins, but it's close.
But he is actually like a starring role in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
And I love his Ra's al Ghul, so let's do it.
I was surprised because I was like, all right, well now Aaron's obviously going to pick Batman Begins.
Yeah.
All right.
It's Batman Begins.
Okay.
Thank you,
so I
sir.
chose Kingdom of Heaven, and
God damn it. I can't believe I missed Kingdom of Heaven. Oh,
I know. I was like, why the fuck would you not take it?
I
All right,
just
and then I'm
watched
gonna go
that
with...
the other day, too. Ugh.
Okay, so this is not a great movie, but I think it's a very fun movie, is The A-Team. I think the reboot is actually hilarious and very fun to watch. All right, Parker, your second pick, please.
I'm going to go with Gangs of New York.
Alrighty. All right, Aaron, you got back-to-backs.
Love Actually and Rob Roy.
What's Rob Roy again? I think we've talked about this before.
I guarantee we have not.
Oh, okay, what's Rob Roy?
Poor Man's Braveheart.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, Parker, final pick. And remember, it can't be Kingdom of Heaven.
It makes me really upset that it's not.
I told you. I even warned you.
You know what?
You knew what I meant.
I'm actually going to go with a movie that I've never said before, but I really, really love it. No matter when I watch it, it makes me happy. The Lego Movie.
Who's he in Lego Movie?
He's the cop where he changes his face.
I don't remember that at all.
I
I believe you. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
Because I know Will Ferrell is boss man, dad boss, whatever he's called.
Sorry.
Business dad boss. I can't remember what his fucking name was.
Lord Business, I believe.
Lord Business. Yeah. See, I knew what I was talking about.
I was having such a hard time coming up with his actual name because you obliterated it with all.
I did
all of your
ruin it
attempts
pretty good.
that were clearly not it. I love it.
I was pretty close. I basically had it. Okay, so should I pick a movie that nobody here's ever seen before? No, I'm going to go with Anchorman 2. But it was close. Okay. Honorable mentions. I would like to throw out, first of all, Wrath of the Titans, just for the 30-second buddy cop movie of Zeus and Hades killing everyone. That was fun.
I'm going to throw out the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie so much.
That is a crazy movie.
It is. It's fantastic. But it's just a close fourth place to the other ones, because other ones are just so much fun. And the last one is absolutely no fun, but it's an amazing movie, and he is amazing in it, but it's so no fun to watch, and that's Schindler's List.
I'm surprised nobody picked that one.
I picked it because it's just no fun to watch at all. I rewatched it not long ago. I want to say like less than a year ago.
And the whole time you're like, man, I wish I wasn't doing this.
I'm
But
just
like I
the
can't
whole
turn
time.
it off.
You know what happened actually? The famous Warsaw Ghetto scene where the girl in the red coat, and they're watching.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, there's a famous scene where a little girl in a red coat is wandering around the Warsaw Ghetto while they're evacuating it. Deporting everyone physically from it, and Oskar Schindler is horseback riding with his wife, and he's up on a hill overlooking this, and his eyes are fixated on this little girl in a red coat. The movie is black and white, but the little girl has a red coat, so you get to watch her wander around without her family because they're being abducted. And I in the middle of that scene, I went, oh shit, this is so different now. Like, cause all of a sudden,
As an adult, like
yes. Also, as a parent, all of a
yeah.
sudden, I was like, oh no! Like, last time I watched that movie, I was probably 18 or 19, and so I was like, man, it made a huge impact when I was a kid. Now it's fucking leveling me, and I'm just like, oh shit! And it was really hard to watch. The whole movie was so hard to watch. Clearly on purpose, right? It's supposed to be
yeah. I mean, it's supposed to be a brutal movie.
Show you the drama. Try to show you the drama of that moment, but man. Oh. So no, I couldn't put it on this list. No, I couldn't do it.
I'm gonna final honorable mention for Krull, the Star Wars knockoff movie from like 1983 or something, where they have to go get the glaive, which is a 5-pointed knife. It's to save the universe. I'm not sure how it saves the universe. I've seen it, but I don't really remember other than it shoots lasers somehow. I don't know. There's definitely a giant dog man who's definitely not Chewbacca.
I don't know this movie, but I feel like I should.
Oh man, this is like a fever dream movie. Yeah, it is from 1983. Yeah, man, you just have to watch it. I guess it's nuts. Excuse me. It's just like really bad sci-fi. It's like Ice Pirates. It's pretty legit.
Is it as good as like Wing Commander? Because that's my
Wing Commander is not what I would call B sci-fi. It's just low budget sci-fi. But it's like Wing Commander is meant to be a big movie. No, like Krull is like bad practical effects. Like it's like okay, yeah. Have you ever seen Ice Pirates either?
I don't think so.
Starring Ron Perlman.
No.
He has a rat tail. He really sells it.
Oh Jesus.
So Ice Pirates is great because like the world's running out of water, and so only the rich people can live on Earth, and everybody else has to go into space. And so there's like this huge galactic corporation that goes and gets ice from like asteroids and brings it back so that they can get water. And so the Ice Pirates, maritime steal the ice from the corporations and then sell in the black market so people can have water.
Say no more. Yeah. You struck gold. Stop minding.
You struck gold. So the picture of Ron Perlman dressed as a space age pirate, because when they say Ice Pirates, it's 100% like Skull and Crossbones pirates. He's swinging on a rope from one balcony to another like a pirate wearing tech armor. Like it's just like, okay, here we go. And he's like 25. It's Ron Perlman at 25. But it's like Spaceballs almost. Like it's a joke movie for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a space harpy that gets on their ship. They have to fight it.
They fight space herpes?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a time travel portion of the movie, which is pretty crazy because they're fighting in this like temporal field, and so like the people are aging dramatically while they're having a sword fight, and so every time it quick cuts from one guy to another, they're just older in every cut, and like the one guy, the main character, is looking like a white like Renaissance wig on because he's got this long curly white hair at the end of the fight. You're like, what the fuck? It's pretty funny. Anyway. Highly recommend Ice Pirates. I think you can watch it on YouTube. Like, it's very easy to get. Okay. You guys ready to jump into the episode?
Mm-hmm. Born Ready.
Is that the next Jason Bourne movie? Born Ready.
It should be.
Did not expect a laugh from that. Okay, we're moving on.